The Dershow.
The whole Secret Service is essentially in bankruptcy. Look, some of the bravest and boldest people in the world are in the Secret Service. The people who jumped and put themselves in harm's way to protect Trump deserve all the credit in the world, but the higher-ups have a real problem. First of all, structurally, the Secret Service should not have any job other than to protect presidential protectees and other protectees. Historically, for an accidental reason, the Secret Service was part of the Treasury Department. It's now more under Homeland Security, but it was part of the Treasury Department, and they had many functions, including stopping counterfeiting of currency. The Secret Service has to have one job. It should be part of a consortium of intelligence and preventive agencies that include the CIA, the FBI, and other national intelligence organizations. And the Secret Service has essentially 5 functions, and they're all somewhat different functions. Number one is a long-term function. They should be gathering long and medium-term and even short-term intelligence way before an event occurs to see whether there are any risks or dangers to the protectees from an event like this. They should be looking into social profiles. They should be seeing if there are any threats, any signals, indicia of dangerousness. Now, in that situation, there are going to be a lot of false positives. They're going to question and maybe even detain lots of people who wouldn't, in fact, commit violence on any protectees. But that's okay, because in this case, you want to avoid any false negatives. You want to avoid any non-decision to try to detain or question or arrest somebody who would, in fact, try to kill the president. Now, of course, it's already a crime to threaten to kill the president or threaten the president. But very few of the people historically, since 1832, the first presidential assassination of President Andrew Jackson by a man named Richard Lawrence, prosecuted by Francis Scott Key, as I think I've mentioned, going back all the way almost 200 years ago, people who try to kill John Wilkes Booth, the people who killed Garfield, who killed McKinley, they don't usually threaten. So the statute doesn't do it. You need intelligence, and it's very hard. It's very hard because although people manifest after the fact, we say, oh, we now know that he was threatening or thinking about shooting the president. There are so many like that too many people would have to be detained and arrested. But it doesn't matter how many false positives there are, crucial to avoid any false negatives. So that's one step. The second step is also preventive. You surveil the area where the event is going to be. You make sure that every possible area in line of sight and in gun range or explosive range is completely checked out and completely surveilled. And you post people in any dangerous area on the roof. Doesn't matter if the roof is slanted. Secret Service people can go on a slanted roof. There are now videos of people walking on the slanted roof with no problem at all. So that's the second thing. You make sure that the area is safe. Third, at the event, you circulate and make sure that there are no people who pose an immediate threat. And in this case, of course, we know that there was information that there was a suspicious person, a young person carrying a knapsack in which there could have been a lethal weapon. It turns out there was a lethal weapon. And there was communication about him, and yet he wasn't even questioned or stopped. And when he was seen going up on the roof, hey, that didn't stop them from allowing the president to go on the stage, which is the next point. The next point is, before you allow the protectee, the president, the candidate, to go anywhere where they're in danger, you have to check every box. You have to do what an airline pilot does, check off every single box. You have to check with local authorities, are there any suspicious people? You have to check with the Secret Service, are there any suspicious people? You have to check with people in the area, are there any suspicious people? If there's any doubt, You freeze the situation. You don't allow the protectee to come out on the stage. Sure, that will mean delays. That will mean occasionally even a postponement, maybe even a cancellation. Big deal. Yeah, those are false positives too, but they're not the kinds of false positives that we have to worry about. Much better to be safe than sorry. So that's another one. And then finally, there is the very important function, the most visible function of the Secret Service, the one we saw live and then on video, is once the shot was fired, two things have to happen. The shooter has to be immediately disabled, and that happened very effectively. The Secret Service sniper, with one bullet, one shot, killed Crooks and stopped him from firing additional shots. That was good. And then related to that, Secret Service people surrounding the president put their bodies in the way and made sure that a second shot, if it was fired, couldn't hit the former president. Of course, Trump, as is his style, didn't obey the Secret Service. He stood up and he put his hand up in the air and he said, "Fight, fight." They were trying to keep him down. But by that time, the shooter was dead, although the people on the ground didn't know that. So many things have to happen for the Secret Service to become more effective.